What's up, everybody? It's Pastor G. I'm in the house once again. Here's a question that I get asked quite often. What do you do when you're in a moment in life when it seems like nothing is working out? Everything that I put my hands to do seems to crumble. I've been promised some things, and just at the door when I think that they are about to happen, something goes wrong. What do I do in those times? Well, never doubt in the dark what you know to be truth in the light. In other words, the dream that you had, the vision that you had, that ultimately coming into a place of success, a place of destiny, a place where you were in position to help many. Keep the picture in your mind, even in the tough times, because your battles never come to destroy you, they come to define you. And you've been in many, it seems like lately, wars, but they're only to bring definition to your life. And some of you've been through some extreme things, so you're getting great definition. Now, every great conqueror is always known by the battles that he or she has overcome. So you're in great company because all of the great men and women have always had to fight great battles. Great battles. So never forget the dream. Paint a picture in your mind of what you know that you are or who you know that you are, so that when process comes and you see things happening contrary, always remember God is for me. He is more than the world against me. There is nothing. He'll never allow anything to enter into my life that I am not capable of handling. And I know that it gets tough sometimes, but you got to remember that you are an overcomer and you will overcome. I like to get spiritual insight in moments like these, because when you see everything around you crumbling, sometimes it can take you out. But you got to reach deep on the inside into the spirit, because you're much larger on the inside than you are on the outside. Genesis the 37th chapter talks about a young man by the name of Joseph, very familiar story, that had a dream. And we know that in having a dream, he expressed it to his family that he was going to be great one day. He was going to be in a position of greatness. And like it happens for a lot of us, when you tell someone your dream, even sometimes your family or the people that are closest to you might not understand that you're not trying to be arrogant. You're not trying to be all of that. You are just expressing to the people that you thought would be happy for you your dream. Because ultimately, whatever I come into, you come into. But we know story that they could not process it like that. So his brothers, now in his process, he never thought that when he had a dream of greatness that he would go through the things that he had to go through. You know, in his story, his brothers put him in a pit. They hated on him, put him in a pit. Then he was sold, taken out of the pit, sold to some Ishmaelites, ended up in Egypt, in Potiphar's house. After ending in Potiphar's house, you know, the story of Potiphar's wives accused him of trying to come on to it. So he ended up, Potiphar take him into prison, ended up in prison, and then ultimately ended up in the palace. And I'm sure that Joseph, when he had a dream of greatness, did not write in his story that one day my brothers would hate on me enough to want to kill me just because I had a dream. But we know through the story that that was God's processing him, putting him in the right position. The pit to him was not the right position, but it was in God's process. Him being sold into Egypt was not something that he wrote in his process, but God wrote it, because he ends up in Potiphar's house. And the story says that in Potiphar's house, he became over. Potiphar, seeing the excellency of his spirit, he always kept a great attitude. And he's seeing that the favor of God was on Joseph, even though he is sold into slavery. See, just because I'm in a position where by all definition, I'm not great in that moment, but if I got the favor of God on my life, it overcomes even the position that I am now. He is interpreted at this point as a slave, but he kept a great a great outlook on life. And so much so that Potiphar puts him over everything in his house. Everything. But the promise was that one day I would be in a position of greatness. Even though in this moment and being in Potiphar's house seemed like a great moment, but he had to keep his eyes on the ultimate goal. This is good, but it's not my destination. See, sometimes we get in a position where things are just good and we'll settle for that. So in God's plan, he had to create a moment where he could not settle for what was just good. So therefore his wife came and said he tried to, because this would get Potiphar's attention. And so ultimately, he is thrown in the prison of Pharaoh. This is process. Now, who would think me being put into prison is a step into greatness? No, it seems like a degrading moment, but God knows more about me than I know about me. So he ends up in, the story, the baker and the butler have a dream. God had given him a talent, a gift, if you will. And he's blessed. The scripture said he's blessed. Potiphar recognized that is favored of God. And now we recognize in this moment in the prison that he has a gift. Now I wanted to make this very clear that he was favored by God and he had a gift to interpret a dream. Because sometimes in our journey, just because I think that I got favor and I have a gift, process is not going to happen. But Joseph had both of these. He had a gift and he was favored, but process has to happen because ultimately God is training to reign. Train to reign. Even with favor, even with a gift, we go through process. And so he has a gift which ultimately leads him before the Pharaoh. Your gift will make room for you. Just stay in the process. Don't faint now because you're almost at the finish line. The race is not given to the swift, neither to the strong, but to him that endureth to the end. You're about to step in the winner's circle. So keep your head up. It's yours. Take it.